just one man the job.
This is a lot to watch.
Gorgeous white dial.
It is now officially live.
We finally got some corals here. We're waiting on fish.
This is a little bit tricky for us.
This is what I see under the loop.
I don't want to see this in our shelf next week.
We can get down with some meteorite dolls too.
A little sneak peek, there's a protect box here.
This watch should fetch around 12.
Another week here at Grand Caliber. Before this week's episode, we have an exciting announcement to make. We are going to be giving away a Rolex Explorer 2 Polar Dial for the holidays. Between now and the end of the year, if you go to our website, www.grandcaliber.com, and you make a purchase, you'll be entered to win. Historically, we've only had watches on the website, which leads me to a more exciting announcement. We are launching our branded apparel. So you see me wear these hoodies, you've seen the team wear the shirts and the polos. They're all available on our website right now. When you make those purchases, they won't ship until mid-December, but they will be there in time for the holidays. If you pick yourself up a hoodie, a shirt, or a polo, you'll also be entered to win this watch. There are some rules that do apply. You have to be 18 or older, and lastly, you have to be a US resident. I know we have a large following in the UK as well as parts of Asia. You can still buy our branded apparel. We'll still ship it to you, but unfortunately, due to the legality matters, you have to be a US resident. Without further ado, back to your regular programming.
Jimmy!
Hey, welcome back. Another week here at Grand Caliber. Look at this mess we got. I'm not sure if the viewers remember, but we had a client that gave us 25 watches on consignment. We flew out to California. Well, we have since sold all 25 of his watches, which was great. He gave us 50 more. Take a look. We got all of these watches here coming on this way. Our photography team has already started. They are photographing all of these watches. A little sneak peek. There's a protect box here, so that's great. Sneak peek. These are really cool cases, but they got double stacked. This is a little bit tricky for us though, because we love getting in watches and a variety of different brands, but we authenticate every watch that comes in. So you know whose job is going to be torture today. I'm sure you'll talk to him later. But yeah, we got 50 watches in. I'm just happy that we were able to sell his 25, get that confidence from him. They weren't the easiest watches to sell. They were, a lot of different brands. I would consider them non-hype brands. Tudors, your Panerais, your IWCs, your Breitlings, which are all great brands, but they're a little bit harder to move than your Rolexes and your APs. So we've always wanted to be a company that has all of the brands, whether it's a $3,000 watch or a six-figure watch. I don't want to be too skewed one way or the other. But yeah, exciting stuff. We got a lot of watches in.
These are really, really rare. This is a 18078, correct?
I believe so.
You just looking to sell these outright?
Sell, consignment, first time here.
First thing we're going to look for is make sure the dial isn't cracked. That's got a beautiful pattern on it too. Wow. Other than that, the watch looks pretty kosher. The dial looks really nice and clean. I don't see any issues with it. What company are you with?
Crown Gold and Silver Exchange.
Crown?
We're in Fort Worth.
Okay, cool. You guys see stuff like this often?
No, not that often. That's why we're making our avenues.
Gotcha. So right off the bat, the serial number does not match those papers.
And it might be this paper.
So we might be switched. That's not a big deal. Also won't match this as well.
Okay.
So these two papers so far do not match, which is not the end of the world. This is a really interesting watch. It's a really cool watch. But the thing that I would recommend with this would be consigning it. I do have a nice client base for a watch like this. Right now, with the market the way it is, everything's kind of like really bare in a situation. So like buy prices right now are going to be much lower than what they should be selling for, just kind of right now, just to offset what potentially could happen while holding these. Mm-hmm. This is a really cool watch. It should bring like high teens, with the right buyer. Okay. But right now what I'd stock it for is probably around 10 to 11. We don't have papers, and the only thing that's going to really help this watch is going to help that dial. It's a really pretty dial. It's got a really beautiful pattern on it. I think a client would really appreciate this watch with a little bit of cleaning. Obviously the bracelet's a little weak, but it's not the end of the world because it looks like it's still pretty much put together. It's not like splitting apart at the ends or anything. I'd really want to like consign it because I think I can do well with it, and I think you would do better in the next 30 days with this watch than just cashing out.
That's what we're...
Yeah. Okay, then we have our standard 18038. This one's in really good shape. So all of this stuff is reflecting a different model though.
Is it?
Yeah, it's all, you have everything correct, but
it's the wrong watches.
Yeah, but I believe you got the wrong watches here. It's okay, it happens. 6 million, so this is going to be more of like early 80s. Looks like it's been polished very lightly throughout its life. This watch should fetch around 12 consigned, but right now we're buying these around 9. If you wanted to go ahead and consign these, I would say we'll try to push for 12 grand. Everything right here is 10%.
Okay.
So if we this type of stuff goes well with, like, say, this watch. I mean, it's as much as we can include with it is great. Obviously, I can't include any of these documents as far as the warranty papers go because they don't match. Papers don't really mean too much on these older presidents. It helps a lot, but of course, there's still people that really just want the watch for being the
What it
watch.
is.
Yeah, not so much as being a collector's set. If any watch were to be polished, it would be this one.
Yes,
Because this one is, it's really nice. It has a really nice, decent band, but this is a more common watch. So the consumer for this type of watch is just going to be happy with a clean looking watch versus something like this. You know, a buyer for this is going to want it left alone.
Let me just give my partner a holler. I think we may consign the Burlwood and maybe not that one. I'm still debating whether I keep that one or not.
You want to keep it for you?
That's exactly.
Hey, do it, man.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful watch. I'm sure you guys, you guys can enjoy this watch for a long time. This is like a recession-proof watch, man.
It's the standard.
It is the standard gold Rolex.
Built like a tank and keeps
Yeah.
on going. I'm sitting down here. The watches have been reviewed. Looks like the Burlwood. If we do a consignment, it's 10%. If we do the paperwork, he's thinking high teens. And then the regular date just champagne, it's, your common standard 10, 12 right in there. I'm thinking of consigning the Burlwood, and we can always make a decision on the other one later. It's done. And Pete from Longhorn says hi.
That's all Pete has.
He watches your videos.
Oh yeah, well,
we'd
love
got
to.
The new coffee maker. You got,
Yeah. Hey Pete, how are you?
Hey Marco, that sounds fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, we thank you so much for bringing this piece in, man. It's really pretty to see, to see that this one particularly has a really awesome pattern on the dial. I think once we photograph it and get it up, it's gonna shoot very well, especially.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, oh shit, Marco's got to see this watch. Awesome.
Yeah, every Burlwood dial is different. Sometimes it's kind of like a meteorite dial in a sense. Every cut is just gonna be a little bit different, and this one has a lot of like swirls, and where I've seen some more have like a straight bark look. I mean, this is really cool. I like this one because it's more swirly. But you guys are with Longhorn.
I'm in McKinney, Texas, and Brian's in Keller, Texas.
I'm sure you guys got some cool stuff up there. We'll come up there one day and shoot some stuff.
That sounds good. That sounds fantastic.
I'm sure you got some stuff with some stories I'd love to see. I'll get your info too after this, and we'll definitely connect because I definitely want to plan something with you guys.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thanks, Pete.
I'll see you soon.
Pleasure talking to you. Perfect. Thank you so much again.
Pleasure to meet you.
As you guys saw, we just bought the date 8, we consigned the date 8, the Burlwood dial. So just for the future reference, now when when I talk about these dials, you're gonna be able to see what I'm talking about. Something right off the bat, what I mentioned in the, when I was looking at the watch, was the D was missing part of the letter in there. So not a big deal. I mean, it is a Burlwood, but this is what I see under the loop. It's a Burlwood dial, so for the most part, we're just happy to see the dial itself is in excellent condition. Biggest thing with these Burlwood dials is they have a lacquer in them, and they can crack. So luckily, this one doesn't have any cracks to show you. Look at the pattern. See, this is
Beautiful.
A really awesome pattern.
What do you say it was, a birch? Burlwood birch?
I guess. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely not maple. I wonder how it would sound if it was a guitar.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a tonewood dial, Marco.
This microscope's pretty sick. We can get down with some meteorite dials too. So
Yeah,
I got a
yeah.
Meteor Pepsi coming in tomorrow. Next step here is we're going to start the authentication for the day. We're going to go look at some watches, and you're going to really see this thing in action. So I'm excited for you guys to finally see what I see. So this is going to be awesome. So here we go. I'm just going to run you guys through an example of what we're going to be looking at moving forward as far as like authenticating watches, or maybe even showcasing the differences between a real Rolex and a fake Rolex, so I can actually get down to the nitty gritty and explain to you why things are the way they are. I'll get started with the as my personal piece, the Tiffany & Co. GMT. So if I was to, this watch were to come in, what did I do with my loop? Here's a loop. I'm still working on these freaking loops. I haven't forgot you guys. It's just been a pain finding, a reliable source for these. Just to kind of review this watch per se, or say it came in for authentication. I'm gonna loop this watch out, kind of explain to you what I'm seeing. First thing I'm gonna do is obviously check the dial, just to make sure the lume plots look good. Everything looks good. Interesting patina on the bezel. It has a goofy looking Tiffany stamp, which as you guys know, the Tiffany stamps aren't quite as masterfully printed as the dial itself, So when you're looking at the Rolex dial, you'll see the printing is a little nicer, actually a lot nicer than the Tiffany & Co. that's sitting there. It looks almost like it was painted on with like a roller. It doesn't look very good. I don't like the way Tiffany, stamps their watches. I actually noticed that my GMT hand has cracked. So there's a crack in the GMT hand. I'll show you guys.
Where on the hand?
At the very tip, there's a crack. I just need to send it off and have the, Philip will balance the underside of it, and he can actually treat the bottom side of the hand so that they don't continue cracking and degrading and falling apart. One sudden jolt can actually dislodge loom. That would be really bad. Is this an unpolished watch? No, but it's. And what I'll show you guys on the microscope is you can still make out the edges of the chamfers, but they're not quite as pronounced as a watch that's unpolished. If it's been polished once or twice, everything else looks pretty copacetic, looks good. So that's kind of the idea moving forward. So whenever watches come in, I'm going to be looking even closer, but mostly don't worry, we're not going to go crazy with the modern stuff. I mean, I'll show you the dust I'm talking about though. So, when a brand new Rolex comes in, I'll pop the band off, throw it under there and show you guys what I see. So you guys don't think I'm crazy, because yes, there is dust on these damn dials, and it's frustrating to see dust on a brand new Rolex, but it is what it is. Let us know down in the comments below, am I really psycho for wanting to see watches this close? Do you guys want to see watches this close up? Does it even matter? Let me know in the comments. I think this is amazing. I've been wanting one of these for a long time. I've had these in the past, but only in a sense where I could see it, and again, not you guys. This is again how I learned a lot about watches. Let me know how you guys think about this, and this is going to be really interesting moving forward. Matt's going to have a lot of fun with this. And for now, I actually have to go through 50 watches that we got from one client, so I'm going to be really busy today checking out all these watches. None of them are really Rolex. It's just mostly IWC, Gloss Shoot, just various brands of such. You'll see them rolling out on the website. Pretty exciting to see, because a lot of the stuff is just stuff you just never see outside of boutiques, so it's really cool. So follow along on that. This is a lot of watches. This is a shit ton of watches that I am halfway excited and halfway not excited to deal with, because there's so many of them. How exciting was the back end of that deal?
We're not finished with it, so just be careful when you move those watches around, because the photography team still needs to
so they configured a certain way. All right.
Yeah, they're gonna have fun. So just so you know, every watch that comes in gets fully authenticated. When 50 of them come in, there's one man for the job.
Let's do this. So I'll show you how I authenticate watches. You flip it open, you pull these out, and you look at them and you go, yep, they're all real.
Yep.
And there's more. We're gonna inspect them back in my office. So unfortunately, guys, I'm not gonna have time to go through every single one of these watches, but I'm gonna pick a couple of them out to go over. As I'm going through these, we're gonna talk about this one, right? So this is a Zenith Defy, I believe. You have to excuse me, I'm not totally versed on Zeniths. It's a really cool watch. It weighs next to nothing. It's a very simple watch. It winds so buttery smooth.
What does it remind you of, how it winds?
I don't even know.
Does it have its own thing?
It really has its own thing. It really winds. It just has such a satisfying feel. It's almost as good as a vintage Daytona.
It sounds good, yeah.
So it's a Zenith Defy, obviously automatic, super thin, weighs next to nothing. Really cool watch. Oh, here we go. The Laredo. This is a really awesome watch. As you guys know, these Laredo skeletons come in stainless steel, ceramic, and rose gold. They really have that AP skeleton vibe, 15407 ST. So this would be kind of its its cousin, I guess, in a sense. Really pretty watch. You get a lot of value out of this watch. You really do. I think they're still pretty popular. Obviously, prices have strongly corrected on these, as market prices went pretty high back in, February through April. They were just trading. This watch was trading close to around 45 for steel, which I think they're now back down to low 30s, maybe high 20s. These are still doing really well. We're still moving some of these, Laredos. I can't stress enough that if you buy one of these, you're going to be rocking a really solid watch that just looks really cool overall. It has a strong AP vibe, so you don't have to spend $140,000 or $150,000 in today's market for a steel 15407. This one looks good under the loop, nice dial, or I should say lack of dial. If anybody follows the GP market, my question to you would be, are these even available at the ADs? Are they still sold out? I don't know. I haven't really looked into that. Craftsmanship behind this watch is just incredible. It really stands out. It really has a nice depth to it. So when you look through the dial, you really have a nice depth of field with it. You really get a lot of angles, and you get a lot of view of how the gears are operating. You get to really see that open worked mainspring, so you can actually see it wind up. What was the other one? Oh yeah, okay, cool. As you guys know, this is a Jiggler Culture Reverso. These are extremely popular watches. These do sell very well. These have always had a spot in the market. There seems to be strong demand for these left and right. The reason is they're just so cool. They're so unique, and there's so many variations of this watch out there. So for example, this watch right here, it's an annual calendar. So you've got the date, moon phase, day, and the month. And if you flip it over, And that's just really cool just to do that. You've also got time and a day-night indicator. So you can go either way with this watch. And the texture on the dial and then really the finer details of this watch really stand apart from your average watch. You know, they really put a lot of thought and effort into these watches, especially when you really dive down and to see how it all comes together and how the layers work with this watch. On the date windows and the calendar area, you can see how recessed it is and it just kind of dives deep into the dial. I love this watch. It's got great patterns and wait till you check it out. And this is kind of my favorite watch out of all these watches just because of the texture on the dial is so insane. It's partially skeletonized and it's also just really, really beautiful. This is a Louis Minier. You've got skeletonized lugs that are kind of hollowed out, which makes it look really awesome. It's got this really, really fancy presence to it. So it's just, you know, it's built in a way that just really stands out. It's like sandwiched together. The bezel meets the body in such a unique way. It's like kind of screwed down, if you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And of course, they've got their name proudly engraved on the side of the case.
Look at the belt buckle on this thing.
Oh, sheesh, yeah, look at it. It's like high polished sleeve. If you have high polished shoes, this is great for your suit and tie, or this is what we call a tuxedo watch, 100%. If you have a tuxedo, buy this watch. It reminds me of like a Breguet. Breguet really takes their time on making their movements look perfect. And it's like really up there with like Patek AP. Like this is a solid watch. We got a GMT that just came in. It's a complete set. So we got a 2014 116710. It's been repolished, ready to go. Lightly worn, not too bad. It looks really nice. So this is in really good shape. That just came in. It looks like it's complete with everything with hang tags too. That's nice to see. So you got hang tags and links, everything's there, cool. So whenever you have these, they go right here. They don't go in the box. They go on top of the box. We've got the 116515 Oyster Flex Daytona. Oh, it's got the aftermarket sticker kit. Lovely. So the way they quote unquote PPF these watches is really kind of half-assed because there's so much exposed above and below it and at the edges. So they really need to make these sticker kits bigger because in my opinion, what happens is it's gonna wear and tear and you're gonna see this like complete shadow of a situation. Gives me 6263 vibes of the classic big red silver Daytona. That's why I love this watch. It's one of my favorite white gold modern Daytonas right now. The next watch is a 228235, the ever rapidly declining olive date. These watches have been rapidly declining in the marketplace quite a bit. I mean, as you guys know, they were once a $90,000 watch. Now they're in the marketplace for in the low 50s. For brand new, so quite a bit of meat shaved off the bone on this price. So the good news is if you're really interested in it, you're not going to be completely beheaded buying one of these now, but back then the guys who were buying these for $92,000 were definitely feeling it now if they still own that same watch. I think right now the market price on these will continue to slightly fall. People are asking me right now, like, where do you see the market going? Well, I still think there's going to be a slight decline, but we're instead of cutting chunks of meat off the prices, now we're just kind of slicing like almost like a deli meat sandwich, you know what I mean? I still think it's a gorgeous modern day President that has that awesome olive dial. Is it a safe buy now? It's probably safer than ever since prices have been slashed so much. I don't think they'll continue to fall much more than that. I still think this watch should settle around maybe at the worst case scenario, high 40s, best case scenario, it should kind of stabilize at what it's at now. Only time will tell, and obviously if market conditions, eventually improve, this would be a good watch to have. The next watch, you guys know this box very well. It's Patek Philippe. This watch came in for a client. So this particular watch created a headache because this is the one time the watch did not go through my authentication process. It was sold to one of my guys as new and it did not end up being new. The client ended up rejecting the watch. And what was frustrating about that whole deal is that I didn't get a chance to lay eyes on it, so verify the deal. Because what I like to do, especially on these high dollar pieces, I really want to get in there and make sure everything is as described, especially from an incoming sense to an outgoing sense. I don't want to have one of my guys sitting there telling their client that it's actually brand new when in fact, if I loop this out really quickly, I can find out that it's like new, but it's not true new because there is some handling marks or some wear on it from when the client wore it because it has been sized. As you can tell, these watches are cut to size, so you don't just simply adjust this. You actually have to take a pair of scissors and actually chop off part of the bracelet or the rubber strap and get it to where it needs to go. So it is a situation if you cut too much off, you're going to be in trouble because these are not cheap straps. This is a used watch, straight up. Not a slider. This is a situation with this watch. I mean, this is not a lightly worn watch. This is not a slider. This is a used watch, like straight up. I cannot sell this as anything else other than used. There's issues with the lugs, there's issues with the bezel, there's issues along the polished areas. I mean, it's all been worn. Sometimes things get passed, and this is one of these situations where one of the sales guys was moving a little quick and unfortunately took in a watch based on a client's word because the client said it was new. So my sales guy, we're not naming names, said it was new to the client, and then it therefore went around all of that and went around me. And then I found out later that the client was not happy because the watch was misdescribed. So, and I did not authenticate this watch. And not that it's fake or anything, it's just not as described. It's definitely a used watch. There you guys have it. That's the segment for today. We really got a lot of work to do. I'm going to do a lot of this off camera, unfortunately, because there's too much time it takes going into each one of these watches. Mostly checking for condition. We're very, very familiar with this client. He's not going to send us anything fake, but he does have some really awesome pieces. This Yacht Club IWC seriously screams badass. Like, again, these watches are so overlooked. Like, these are what true watch connoisseurs go for. Like, they're not hype models, but they are really truly outstanding to just even to look at, because you really get to see how much craftsmanship is actually showed off with these watches. Let me know what you guys think about this improved segment. I know we're improving it to make it better for you guys so you can actually see some insane detail. So yeah, let me know down below what you guys think. If there's anything specific that you guys want to see, I will take requests. This will change the way we do authenticating for sure, not only for you guys but for me as well. To have access to this type of microscope is going to be insane, because I'm really gonna be able to get down and really check on things on a microscopic level, especially when you're dealing with watches such as like Paul Newman's or anything like insanely high dollar, where we're gonna really be able to dive into the, you know, quality of the dial and make sure we're getting what we say we got. So let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Time for a business update, huh?
Yep. What you got?
So this is something we've been working on behind the scenes for the last couple of weeks. I've been talking about improving the e-commerce platform. It is now officially live. You'll see it on our website. Take a look at this. So now you have a watch for sale. In the past, this price was always elevated to be a little bit higher because we were accounting for the merchant service fee. So if the watch we're trying to sell is $13,500, well, if you put online, it's gonna require us to add a little bit to cover the merchant service fees. You guys all know the industry pretty well. Our margins are anywhere between 7 to 11%. And so if you're taking a 2 to 3% hit on your merchant services, that's a huge effect on your bottom line. So we prefer wire, but if a client wanted to pay via a credit card, we would add a merchant service fee. Now that affects the SEOs, because when you start looking at our watches, it might seem like it's a little bit more pricier compared to others. So what we did was we updated it where now you have the price. There's a little bit of explanation of what's going on, but you can pay via credit card or crypto or cash and wire. So let's say I pay via credit card or crypto. When I click that option, you'll see that here the merchant service fee gets added automatically off of this original price. Now I'm still going to clean this up so by the time you see it, it's hopefully going to be a little bit cleaner. Let's say you don't want to pay this merchant service fee. No problem. You're going to click on make a wire or cash payment instead. What that's going to do is it's going to prompt a deposit of $2,000, and that deposit's going to vary based on the cost of the watch. So if it's, you know, a $10,000 watch, that will require a different deposit than, let's say, a $100,000 watch. Honestly, I don't know how many people that have credit limits that can take on a $100,000 watch, but we've accounted for that. And so what will happen is once you make that $2,000 or whatever deposit you make, emails coming a lot. As soon as you make that payment, you will then be provided with a receipt with the remaining balance and the check or wire instructions or cash instructions. So I wanted to create a way where it is seamless. You don't have to rely on a sales rep to follow back up with you. If you want to buy the product, you can just go right ahead and do it. Also, what I'm trying to do is get the sales rep to push the traffic to the website instead of going through all this manual processing of invoices. Direct them to the website. You'll still get credit as long as they put your name as a sales rep. So hopefully this is going to be a lot more seamless moving forward. Behind the scenes, we've been doing a lot of preparation for the sweepstakes that we announced. Obviously, we're giving away a Rolex Explorer 2 Polar Dial. I've looked into the legality of this. I'm not sure if this even intrigues you, but in a sweepstakes, you can either have someone purchase an item, and if you do, there's got to be a free way to enter. And legally, you know, that's got to be a mail-in ballot or mail-in something to some type of warehouse, or purchasing something on our website. Now, there's other ways you can do it, but you have to have certain disclosures. For example, you know, this Rolex that we're giving away, you have to be 18 plus. You have to be within the US. I also learned other things like when you're doing these sweepstakes, depending on the value of the prize, New York and Florida are very tricky states. Anything over $5,000 giveaway requires you to register in New York and Florida and actually get a bond on that item. If you don't, you could be facing issues with the Federal Trade Commission. So, we're launching the apparel, we're launching the giveaway, the sweepstakes, whatever you want to call it. We're launching kind of the new checkout process. So it's been pretty busy the last few weeks behind the scenes. And you can see I get a lot of emails. It's just bing, boom, bing, boom.
As you see, we finally got some corals here. We're waiting on fish. Probably gonna do that probably another 2 to 3 weeks. Right now, we're just getting everything acclimated. This is kind of our acclimating rack. So right now, as you can see, we've got some hammer corals, some torch corals, some redactus mushrooms, some akins coming together really nice. This will go away. The goal is to get them arranged on the rocks. Over time, when they grow out, years down the road, we'll have colonies because this stuff will just keep growing and growing and growing if we do things right. But yeah, just to give you a quick tour. So right now, we're just waiting on some keto to come in so we can fill that area up. So that light will be growing our keto. And right now, there's our Apex system right there. So that right there kind of monitors everything. Here's the auto top off. What's going to be really cool is we have the dosing pumps coming. So that's going to dose everything. So the system that we're going to be using will actually allow you to start monitoring all the stuff that you want to dose in it. So it'll automatically read what the tank's doing. So if you're low on calcium, you don't have to go measure every time to find out you're low. It'll automatically know that and it'll dose according. So if you want it to maintain a certain parameter, it'll just do it for you. So that's what's really cool about this Neptune Apex system. So this is an awesome addition to the office, guys. I'm really excited about this just on a personal level. Stay tuned. I'll update you guys. If you guys want to keep seeing this segment, drop a comment down below and tell me if you guys are enjoying it or not. It's up to you guys. I like to kind of keep you guys pleased at the end of the day. So yeah, so follow along.
What's going on, guys? We're gonna bring it back to another showroom showcase today. We got 4 watches that I think everyone will really like. They're 4 that we haven't shown yet, obviously, so let's dive into it. Huge classic. One of the ones that spiked up the most when the market was kind of going crazy is the Rolex Hulk, the 116610LV. They obviously discontinued this in 2020, so there's a handful out there with the new style card. This does not have the new style card. It's a 2017 going for $22,000. It's a complete set. You have the green dial with the green bezel, which brings me to the next one right here, the modern version of it. So this is known as the Starbucks or the Kermit. I call it the Starbucks. Ceramic bezel, I think, makes it the Starbucks, and the pre-ceramic is the Kermit, but it's kind of a nitty gritty right there. But which one do you like more? So you have the new reference, the 126610LV, and then the old reference, the 11 reference. So the buckle on the new one is a lot thicker, a little bigger. The links are a little wider, so just a little bigger of a watch, obviously being a 41mm to a 40mm. Personally, I prefer the 40mm over the 41mm, but here is kind of something that's a little different. I actually prefer the Starbucks over the Hulk. I don't know why. I like the black dial with the green over a green on green. Maybe down the road I'll like the Hulk more, but for now I've always been kind of leaning towards the Starbucks. Here's a really cool watch that you just don't get to see enough. It's a Royal Oak. It's the dual time. So it's really cool. Obviously dual time, it tells you 2 times at once. So right down here in the sub dial, it'll tell you a time, and then obviously tells you the main time. The minute hands are aligned with the 2 sub dial and the main time. And then right below it, or right off to the side, is where it's black and then white. That shows you kind of the AM to PM, so that's kind of how you track with that. And then obviously you got the date window over there, and then a nice power reserve. It's really nice because it fits kind of everyone's wrist, being a 39mm, and then it has a gorgeous white dial. I've always liked white dials over like blue dials or green dials. So this is in production years between 2007 to 2015. So this one is a complete set. We're selling it for $34,000. Open card though. So between 2007 to 2015, somewhere in there. Like I said, that's the production years on it. So let us know what you think. Obviously a gorgeous watch with that band. You just can't go wrong with a Royal Oak. I mean, they're just something else. Stick with the green theme. Let's go with something else that's green. So right here we got a big Pilot. Obviously it has the green dial. A nice red rubber strap. So I don't know a ton about IWC. It'd be kind of nice if people maybe let me know a little bit more in the comments. I'm not really sure if this is specific green limited in this. I know they did a boutique exclusive on these. I'm just not sure really where this one landed on that. Is green something that you're fond of? I know a lot of people love green, but then I know there's also a big following that are not with green. I'm kind of in between the two. That's why I always like the Starbucks the best, because it kind of gives you a nice balance with the green bezel to the black dial. But what would you do? Would you rock this? IWC is obviously known for having big watches. They're kind of like the Tudor as far as going into the big watches where you got like Panerai and things like that, where they have much larger cases. IWC is kind of fitting in there. Obviously they're getting really well known with Formula 1 becoming so popular and Lewis Hamilton rocking this. All right, by the way, it's a nice Christmas theme. We just realized that. You got the green and the red. So this could be the nice holiday Christmas themed present. I don't want to see this in our shelf next week. It needs to be in someone's stocking. Our little tray of goodies here. So let us know what you thought of this week's showroom showcase, kind of with the whole green theme, and then obviously had to throw in a little pop of a nice royal oak. Once again, just put my name in when you're buying these. And then yeah, let us know.
Welcome back to another Ask Us Anything. We missed you last week just because I didn't think there was a lot of questions. I'm just playing. We're excited to be back, so what do you have for us, Matt?
Joey Bradley says, where are we at with the merch?
I'm excited to say that merch has been completed. It is actually on its way from Portugal to our warehouses. As I mentioned earlier, we are gonna be selling them on our website. So if you check on our website probably right now, you'll be able to buy the hoodies, the polos, the shirts, and you'll be entered to win a Rolex Explorer 2, so give it a look.
RZ says, question for next week. Have you all ever thought about maybe having Marco give a masterclass in vintage pieces?
I've thought about it. I don't really know how I would structure it, where to begin and how to end it. I'm not much of a teacher per se, so I don't know how to like put together curriculum, but if somebody wanted to partner on setting that up, I would entertain it. As of now, I don't have anything in the works.
3211 and Co says, question for next week. What is your favorite time of day on a wristwatch, dial minute by minute, that makes you appreciate the true craftsmanship and uniqueness of a piece that you were wearing that day, and why?
My favorite time of day on a watch is 11:11. I mean, that's my number. I don't care what I'm doing, where I'm at. I just happen to look down, 11:11, so it just speaks to me. It keeps that date window open. I like when I can kind of see majority of the dial, 11:11.
I like 9:10. I know 10:10 is the most popular time, but I think 9 gives you a little bit more dial. It's funny, Vic always says it's 11:11 when it's 11:11, so I gotta like that one too.
The Chamber Podcast says, question for next week. Are there any plans for different payment methods such as Affirm or Klarna for pieces 15K and below?
Yes, check out our new website. The design looks very similar, but we've changed the entire checkout process, and we will be adding Klarna, I believe, or Affirm in the coming weeks, if not already. It's been something we've been working on in the background for a couple of weeks now, so keep your eyes out, but go to the website, check out the new checkout process. I think you'll be impressed.
Kevco01010 says, question from Marco. Since tritium degrades over time in vintage watches, does it lower the value once the tritium doesn't have a strong lume reaction?
Tritium that doesn't actually glow. It will react under UV light, but if you hit it with sunlight and go into a dark room, you're not going to have any luck seeing that watch because that glow has stopped years ago. So if it does currently glow for a long period of time, we would question the dial altogether, and we would probably assume it's been relumed or it is just an aftermarket dial without looking at it. So be careful if you have a vintage watch that still glows with sunlight. It's not normal.
John Parkus says, Jai, are you a native Texan? Look forward to news about the holidays and other exciting news.
I'm not a native Texan. I always felt like I was meant to be in the South, but I'm actually from Oregon, so I'm a West Coast person. But yeah, I love Texas. Best food, best people.
Julio Awesome says, question for next week. How hard is it to buy a meteorite dial to put in a Pepsi GMT, and about how much is it now?
All I can say is good luck. I mean, they use an actual piece from a meteorite, you know, that came from space. So there's been rumors of Rolex actually running out of meteorite. So chances of you finding a loose dial is slim to none.
Dan says, question for AMA. I've been in sales for a while, but I would love to move into watch sales. What are some of the qualities you would want to see in a prospective employee?
It comes to having a sales process. I think there's a lot of gray market dealers out there who are going after sales reps who have the watch knowledge, which is great. But I would rather have people that have a true sales process and have been in the sales industry, just because I just think the level of service is pretty low in the gray market environment. And sure, you might know a lot about watches, and half the time your client might have it all go above their head because they don't know the little details of the watch. So I would rather take someone that has a sales process than someone that knows everything about a watch.
Mason Snake says, AMA question. What does Marco have planned for the fish tank in the office?
Tons of fish, tons of corals, and a clean setup. Hopefully we don't run into any ridiculous algae problems. I mean, obviously when you start a new tank, it's gonna have issues, but hopefully they're very minor and we can kind of work through it because bigger tanks always have less problems, believe it or not.
Piotr Sejwick says, another solid episode. Question to the team. What's your opinion about the latest Rolex Deep Sea Challenge?
Man, that Deep Sea Challenge is something else. I would say, I don't know if I can pull it off. I mean, it's gonna take the right person because that thing is 50 millimeters I mean, that is unbelievable, something Rolex has never did. Not necessarily a personal favorite of mine, but I get the idea behind it. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that they're doing titanium. You know, everything else with Rolex is either stainless steel or precious metal. So for them to throw titanium in the mix, it's gonna be interesting.
I challenge you to put it on your wrist and see how long you can deal with it, because that is massive. That is a Invicta meets Rolex, you know, collaboration that I absolutely hate. I think that watch is just bonkers, but that's why somebody's gonna buy it. They're gonna buy that watch because it's absolutely nuts. And in my opinion, I really don't care about that watch. Bigger is not better in this situation of watches. I even thought the deep seas when they came out were just ridiculous, and now this just really tips the scale. So I can't wait till next year when we get our 60mm deep seas rolling out.
Cody Kyle 68W says, question, is it safe to wear watches with that much radiation?
I don't know. Hopefully. Probably so. I think it's fine. I don't think there's enough radiation coming off the dial to do harm. I think you're doing more harm to the watch than yourself by wearing a watch of that old with that delicate of a dial. You can knock lume off of watches if you're not careful, so it's really best if you're gonna wear one to just gently wear it. If you're out there riding your bike or, you know, doing something very active, do not wear a vintage watch that day. Put something modern on that can handle it.
Odin Alovson says, question for next week. About to hit the big 4-0. What is the best, in each of your respective opinions, 1982 watch available for 10 to 15K?
10 to 15K, 1982. I'm thinking Submariner of some sort. I think you can get a lot of watch for the money, a piece of history as well, and a great piece to have in the collection.
Joey Jiggle says, Marco, I need a tiebreaker, and since you are a big GMT fan, I value your opinion. Do I go with Batman on Jubilee or Oyster? Is the heritage of the GMT more attached to the Jubilee or Oyster? I know that sounds crazy, but would love to hear your opinion.
I would say the heritage is more attached to the Oyster, and mainly the riveted Oyster bands is really what people know the vintage GMTs for. Jubilees were always an option, but commonly they were swapped over. Not from other watches, just dealer requests. Whenever people were buying those back in the day, they could request it to be on a Jubilee band. But I believe for the most part, the catalogs mostly show them with Oyster, but I've seen some catalogs also show them with Jubilee as well. But I prefer Oyster on a vintage GMT with the riveted band, but everybody has their own take, so Oyster for this answer.
Well, that's another week of Ask Us Anything. Guys, we're really excited to be giving away this Rolex Explorer for the holidays. Go check out our website, www.grandcaliber.com, for full insight. We'll see you next week.